What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and today I'd like to talk with you dudes about a concept I've had on the back burner for a while here. Generation Zero's sequel. Whether it's Generation 1 or 2, whatever title our sequel will take doesn't really matter as much as the game will get. So today, I'd like to finally break into talking about how Generation Zero can keep its fire alive for decades to come. Now, this is probably the most difficult video out of anything related to Generation Zero's sequel. For our first video on the subject, how do we talk about a sequel when we haven't even completed the main game? So for this first video discussing our future, I'd like to establish some ways we could get to a sequel, and then what it could possibly look like. So we're looking way ahead here, past the Soviet plotline with Bolshevikov's mad quest for Phoenix, and Phoenix's mad quest for the Soviet source code, maybe even past the Iron Church. It is the final moments of the game, and us, the Yelte or hero of the game, is going off to give Phoenix the big old what for, when Phoenix turns out the ultimate trump card. Some sort of plot twist that would mean even if he was defeated here, he'd live on. In space, or out in the ocean, or just somewhere far away. We beat his big boss machine and bada boom, he escapes and we roll credits. The resistance has failed. We failed. But what really wins in the end of us losing the war for Ostatorn is Generation Zero as a whole. Now with the opportunity to take on a brand new plotline and the chance to take advantage of any sort of new tech that might be whipped up for Avalanche, like a new Apex engine maybe? The Apex engine is quite old now, and maybe if this all were to happen years down the road, a new game engine that is able to do and handle all the fancy new age things in gaming, like ray tracing and photorealism, upping the graphical fidelity, but also creating the opportunity to have a less bug-ridden version of the game. Something customizable, specifically for creating complex, memory-heavy games like what Generation Zero is. Though, that might be a long shot. I guess ultimately still, starting fresh and wiping the slate clean with a sequel would still create the opportunity to have things designed a bit better. With a lot of the Generation Zero we have now stress testing these features, meaning we could see them worked into a game in a much better state. Bit of a hot take here, and this isn't to trash talk GZ in any way, because I think the team does a very good job with what they have. But I do think that realistically there are some limitations put in place by the first game that is holding the real potential of Generation Zero back. Simply put, I guess. Okay, so we've covered some ground here, how we could get to a sequel and why a sequel would be a great opportunity for GZ to get up its mountain of potential. But now, let's talk about what that sequel could actually look like, what it could play like. Borderline summarizing the past 4 years of requests from the community along with some of my own creative flair. I know that's a bold statement, but seriously, it could be boiled down to 4 things. Expansive open worlds and environments to explore that have a reason to be visited, a variety of machines in size and capabilities and playstyles, a lot of guns and weapons to fight those machines with, and finally, a gripping narrative to tie it all together. Simple on paper, but realistically pretty difficult to achieve. So, we're nowhere close to the point of talking plot stuff like the narrative. We gotta see how this story unfolds before we can make any claims on that. But we can talk about the other 3 requests, and these may deserve their own videos someday, but for now I'm gonna try to keep things as simple as possible so this video isn't like an hour long. The first big one is expansive open worlds and environments to explore. And this is where I think Generation Zero's sequel could take a huge directional shift from what we have today. Having a system similar to Hunter Call of the Wild's reserve system, where we pick a map to play in that could take us all over Sweden to a variety of large locations to explore. Urban locations such as Stockholm and Malmö, to more rural northern locations like Kiruna, where we could see the northern lights. Having many maps to explore would give the feeling of the unknown in a big way that everyone is seeking from the DLC islands currently in GZ. And with actual maps to explore, this itch for exploration could have the opportunity to be met constantly in a huge way. With each map, we could either see new machines or new classes, allowing us to build on the already very healthy roster. Let's work under the assumption that Phoenix gains control of the Soviet source code, and now all Soviet machines are part of Phoenix. That means we'd have 9 machines to fight from the get-go, and each map could build on that already well-balanced roster with machines designed for other playstyles. Stealthy machines with cloaking fields that hunt and stalk players across the map. Machines that rush and push the player, creating a lot of pressure. And most importantly, new big machines to tackle. The flow of what's new in Generation Zero would be greatly benefited by having large updates like this, but in the current form of GZ, it would take a ton of work to get there. So with a sequel, we could see new maps and machines brought out on a yearly basis in a way that's fresh and engaging each time. And lastly, a huge arsenal to take advantage of. And this is where I think the biggest change could happen for GZ, setting its sequel in the modern day. One of the big limitations we constantly have in our current Generation Zero is that a lot of really fun guns didn't exist in the time period. Moving to the modern day would remedy the time constraints we have, meaning we could have all the guns we want for GZ now and more. Let's look at this through the window of the war against Phoenix being lost. It's now become a global event, with the rest of the world joining the battle against the machines, and learning from the Soviets' fiasco, having taken to a boots-on-the-ground approach. Global arms are constantly given to Sweden to man the battle, opening up what we could see weapon-wise to any gun from any time period up to the current day from any country. Any gun you could dream of could be represented in GZ, and it would be freaking sweet, man! We'll have to break into Generation Zero being set in the modern day in a future video, as it's part of what's kinda held up this one. It's a huge topic to tackle, but the way it would expand our arsenals would be one of the biggest and easiest benefits. New maps to give us the exploration we need. New machines to meet the community requests that have come up over Generation Zero's lifetime. And lastly, a modern day setting so we could have any and all of the guns that someone would want to see in a game. GZ's sequel could be a dang good video game doing all of this and then some. There's honestly so much to talk about when it comes to Generation Zero's sequel, so I think we'll leave it at this to start for now and expand on this over the year. A new Generation Zero would give the benefit to take all the learning, all the foundation, all the work that's gone on for the past 4 years and put it towards the game Generation Zero always could have been. So for now, let me know all your thoughts and feels on Generation Zero's sequel in the comments down below. And maybe consider hitting the thumbs up button to show some love for this hidden gem to actually get a sequel. But, my dudes, thank you for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.